You good?
Yep. Ready to go.
Beauty.
Good evening and welcome to the Joust. My name is Nagy. I'm here as always with my co-host Liam McNeil, but Jousters, we have a very special guest for you tonight. This man started his NRL career with the Roosters in 2016. He was named 2017 Auckland Nines Player of the Tournament before signing a 3-year deal with Newcastle. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the Knights Fullback Connor Watson.
Hey boys, thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming on, mate. Appreciate it.
Obviously, Connor, huge congratulations on Friday night's game, but we'll come back to that. But just focusing quickly on 2017, Player of the Tournament for the Nines. 2018 was the first year that they decided not to do the Nines. Was that something you were looking forward to as a player?
Yeah, it's a good sort of start, I think. You know, it's a good way for young kids and rookies sort of to come in and get their first taste of NRL experience. And we would have had a pretty handy side last year, and this year at the Knights. So, yeah, I reckon we would have gone close to taking it out. But hopefully they bring it back in soon because, yeah, I think we'd be really competitive in it.
It seemed to be one the players did like. You know, it's a bit light-hearted, a bit of fun, just a good warm-up. Did the players really go in for it, buy into it?
Yeah, it was great. It was a great weekend, you know. It's I really like Auckland. It's a great place to go over and play and experience. And yeah, like you said, it's heaps of fun, and you know, you get to play with all different blokes. So that's sort of the thing, you know. Not everyone takes the best side over. You know, they're trying to give blokes a bit of an experience, and yeah, it's a great concept.
I always liked it until that year that Jared Mullen did his hammy, like tore the hammy from the bone, and he looked great up until that point, and I was shattered.
That's it. That was the end for me for the Auckland Nines. I loved it till then. And then when it injured Mullen, I was off it.
I think it was 2014, so it's going back a while. But no, I always liked it. It sort of got you back in the mood for watching rugby league again, and because it's such a fast-paced comp, and it was so quick, you know, and having like such a gala of the day as well, so you could just really settle in, you know, at home or at the pub and watch all the teams play, and such different matches. Now, I miss it, and hopefully they bring it back. Connor, I think a lot of Newcastle supporters were excited when you signed in 2017 for the 18 season, but you really won over the hearts of Novocastrians everywhere when they saw this video.
Go get him, Connor. Go get him, buddy. Connor Watson. You are going to end up playing in the NRL. What team are you going to play for? South?
Newcastle.
Is that is that embarrassing to bring up? Is that now? Obviously, that video got a bit of circulation when you first signed. Is that like when your mum breaks out the Mr. Doobie tapes, like the romper room when you're on TV and Vienna the first time, or is that just normal now?
Oh, that's all right. It's pretty funny. I got real blonde hair there, different Goldilocks, but nah. It's pretty funny how it worked out, you know. Always supported the Knights, so it's great to be here, and I love, yeah, really starting to get my grips on this place now and understand how good it is to live here and play for the town. So,
oh mate, we call it God's country for a reason. Now that jersey you were in, was that Terrigal Sharks?
Yeah, so okay. I started there and then played most of my juniors at Kincumber.
Okay.
Yeah, sort of. I started at Terrigal because all my mates were playing soccer at the time, and then when I wanted to start playing footy, only one of my mates was playing footy. Was playing for Terrigal, and then under nines they all started playing for Kincumber, so I moved over with them and
across the floor.
Yeah,
oh dear.
Jump shit early on. So
there was, I think, a lot of. I was one of them. Assumed that when you were playing for Sydney, you must have been a Sydney guy, and but then learning that you grew up on the Central Coast. Was it in Terrigal or was it somewhere close by there?
Oh, Voca, right next door.
That's a nice part of the world.
Yeah, it was good. I was born in Dubbo, but moved to Avoca when I was 4, I think. So yeah, a bit of a different change of scenery for mum and dad, but you know, I was really fortunate to grow up there. It's a great place.
And forged a nice bond with you and Heino when he came to the club. He was settled in Avoca, didn't he?
Yeah. So Heino lives at he actually lives at Wambrel, but
okay.
Yeah, he's always over in Avoca. I think he wishes he lived in Avoca, but yeah, because that's where all his mates and that are. So yeah, it's good.
You were a self-confessed football fanatic with dreams of playing professionally from a very young age. You know, but it was actually, I think, Peter Tunks that noticed you early on. Was that right?
Yeah, so I actually come to the Knights when I was 16. I just finished playing Harold Matthews on the Central Coast, and this is when Central Coast had a partnership with the Knights, and they wanted me to come up here early in the 17s, sort of 18s, and I'd actually signed a deal, but then in year 11 I got a scholarship to go down to Knox Grammar to play rugby union, and I sort of at the time thought about education, and that's a great school, and I never would have been able to go there if I didn't have this opportunity. And I sort of really wanted to just go down there and give it a crack. So when I moved down there, the Knights sort of reneged on the contract. But it wasn't sort of too bad of a problem. I had interest from other clubs, and when I went down there, I just said I'm just going to play my school footy for the Knox. And then I sort of got a bit frustrated playing rugby union just because it was so forwards dominated, and being a back in rugby league, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, you're always going to get the ball and always be able to play. But you give a penalty, or you get a penalty in rugby union, you kick for touch, and then you might lose the line out. So it just doesn't make sense to me, all that sort of stuff. But I actually enjoyed the game, but it just sort of I really missed playing league, and I ended up playing in a club side for Tunksy on Sunday. So I would sneak out of school. They wouldn't know. So I'd play union on the Saturday and league on the Sunday. And we actually had a pretty red hot team down there. We had Grant Garvey, who's I'm not sure if I think he's just playing local league now, but he played NRL for the Roosters, and Nat Butcher, who played NRL was playing now for the Roosters, and a ton of guys that played under 20s, and you got Liam Coleman, who's playing at Penrith out in the New South Wales Cup there. So we had a red hot side, and obviously with that, your team gets a bit of attention from the scouts, and Peter O'Sullivan is good mates with Tunksy, and Tunksy told him about me, so come over and watched, and then that's how I ended up at the Roosters. So
they're big fans of the show, those Talking Sport boys, I think.
Yeah,
they listen pretty religiously.
Peter Tunks. That's one show that I can listen to endlessly. Yeah. Is Talking Sport, because it goes for about 4 hours on 2HD.
It's brilliant.
You can just whack it on.
I want to earn my Talking Sport nickname one day. I love all the callers got their nicknames. I'd love to earn one.
You can just say your nickname, I'm pretty sure.
No, you got to earn it.
So you have to earn it. Oh, fair enough. Yeah. So you went straight from Knox into the Roosters system. Was that hard? So you would have had to move out of home as well with when you went into the Roosters system, or were you travelling back from the Central Coast?
Oh, well, see, I was boarding at Knox, so I sort of got that experience of living out of home anyway from sort of being 16, and then once the time came to go down to the Roosters and play 20s, I think for the first month I sort of was living at home and travelling back and forth, and then I was crashing at one of my sort of close family friends, or they're my family now, I guess, because I was living with them, the Alendes. So I was crashing at one of their joints for a bit, and then they moved out of the joint they were in, and Gav Lester, who used to play for the Bulldogs, and I think he might have played for South as well, was a welfare officer at the club, and his sister was Trudy Allende, who I was living with, and he just finished building this big house, and they were going to put a few of the Roosters young blokes in there, so he offered me a room there, and I lived in there with sort of it was me, Joey Manu, Jack Hetherington, who's at Penrith, Ruben Porter lived there for a bit, and Bernie Lewis lived there, so there's been a fair few blokes come through that house and going to play NRL, which is pretty cool. So
when I first moved out of home, and even probably up to this day, so it's been 10 years later, I could barely boil water. Toast and anything grilled was with cheese involved was basically my staple. But it recently came out with the Knights that you've got a bit of a talent in the kitchen. Was this something that was a bit flared up, or is that something you're pretty proud of?
Oh, it might be a little bit flared up.
They've got some. You got some recipes on the Knights page. Connor's lamb shoulder, which is nice. You've been and Connor's oven roasted salmon. Is this so? Where did the whereabouts from boarding school? Because I know boarding school you get fed there. You wouldn't have any cooking opportunity. And then was it living with the other family, or is it just something that you've taken to naturally?
Oh, to be honest, my dad and mum are pretty good cooks, so I sort of took a bit in from them. And when I was living at the house with all the boys, we sort of didn't get too adventurous with food there. We were only just learning, but it was when I moved out from that house into a new joint with my roommate, who's actually Dan Roach, who's one of Blocker Roach's young boys.
Okay.
Yep. So I've become pretty close with him. He was sort of one of the assistant coaches at Knox, but he was a sort of younger dude, and he really mentored me and helped me through. And I was actually staying at Blocker's house too a bit when I first come down to the Roosters. So yeah, I was just couch hopping a bit there, and they really looked after me. But when I first was going to move out by myself, I hit him up to see if he needed a room or anything like that, and he was pretty keen, and he's a mad chef, so he taught me some some good things. He was such a good cook, but I'm not as good as him yet. But
well, speaking of the domestic chores, we heard the story earlier in the year that you and Kalen Ponga moved in together. You had to teach him to do the laundry. It seems like a very rugby league thing. Young players going out, finding a team, and they always need to seem to get taught to do the laundry. Did it take long? Did he pick it up pretty quickly? How'd he do?
Yeah, he's good. He's good now. So.
It can be a complicated machine.
They're
the
all
washing
different.
machine. That's it.
They're all different. Front loaders, top loaders. Some have got 3-hour-long cycles. It's an easy one to muck up.
I've been living with my missus for about a year, and we went from a top loader when I was living out of home to now front loader. And you're right, I was a little bit thrown off to like, she goes, can you just put them in? But it's a dial, but it's sort of like a digital thing. Not very clear.
It's taken Nagy forever. And
I'm still not there.
Yeah, no. But he's doing well. He's improving every day. Aren't you, Nagy?
I think it might be rugby league players because, like at the end of the game, it's someone else, as you're growing up, it's always one of the, the nominated mum of the week, and they do the washing of the jerseys. So, the washing's always someone else's job. It's never up to the player.
No, surely. That's it. I remember, mum and dad used to bring the jerseys home, and I'd see them in a bag, and next thing I know, they're on the line. That's all I knew. That was all I knew about laundry.
One day, my mum forgot to bring the jerseys to the game, and it was about an hour away from where we lived. We had to wear the other team, the older team that played before us, had to wear their jerseys, and they're all muddy. It was shocking. Good on you, mum. But, yeah, Connor, you list your two favourite players growing up as Joey, obviously, and Kurt Gidley. Now, playing for the Knights, you've worn both the number 1, which was Kurt's spot, where you played a lot of his good football, and you played in the halves as well. Was that something that was a bit of a challenge? Looking at the players that you admired as a young fella, and then suddenly you're wearing their jerseys.
I haven't really looked at it like that, to be honest. I sort of just it's obviously a dream of mine to always play for the Knights, and as a kid, I grew up playing fullback, so it was always a dream to play fullback, which I'd have thought about that the other day, which is pretty cool that I've been able to do that. So, but I don't really put too much pressure on myself in regards to, who's previously worn the jersey. Maybe if I was wearing the 7. No.
That's a tough one in Newcastle, that 7 on the back.
Yeah. But no, I don't. Yeah, it's not really something that I thought about too much, to be honest. After
you cemented your spot with the Roosters in early in that 2017 season, after, as we said, a very strong Nines tournament, you had 1 year left in your contract, and then you were one of the very early signings for the Newcastle Knights in their rebuilding phase in 2017. Do you remember how that came about, or was it something that was took you by surprise in your professional career? It's hard because I don't know if you're allowed to. When you're under contract, allowed to talk. Okay, you talk about other contracts.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's not like if you're under contract, I think clubs get in trouble for talking to you.
Yeah, you're right.
But basically, at the time, my manager spoke to me and said, because there wasn't really a clear pathway there. They just signed Tedesco, which I sort of was hoping to play in that fullback role there, and I'd trained a bit of pre-season there, and Mick Gordon was sort of there to mentor me, and I played a few games there and went really well, but obviously James Tedesco, the Australian fullback, New South Wales fullback, if you got the opportunity to sign him, you do. Yeah. So I couldn't really be too upset about that, but at that time I sort of knew that there was not really a place for me there to be able to go and pursue a starting spot, and that's sort of what I wanted to do. I didn't really want to get pigeonholed as a utility player, which, being a utility player in its own right is pretty cool, but I'd always like to be able to be a starting player and, play in, not just just stick in one position, but always be a starting player in a sense. And I knew I was going to get the opportunity to do that at the Roosters, so I sort of spoke to my manager, and he asked me what do you think? And I was like, well, if I'm looking at my future, I don't think I really I love the place. I love the Roosters. It was a great club, and I'm very thankful for everything they've done for me. But I knew that I couldn't stay there if I was thinking about my own personal ambitions. And I spoke to the club then, and they gave me permission to speak to other clubs, and that's when my manager obviously went out and done the rounds. And the Knights, and I think the Knights and Tigers come back with some. Tigers wanted me to go there, and the Knights did too. So
did Flash Gordon ever get you out in the surf? I'm told he's a pretty prolific surfer.
Yeah, he's pretty handy. Yeah, him and Heino are both good because they're really good mates. So I did a bit of surfing with Flash when I was at the Roosters. So.
I would have got you ready for Newcastle perfectly, eh?
Yeah, well, I grew up surfing as well, so yeah, it's good. It's good fun. I enjoy it.
Do you still surf around Newcastle?
Yeah, a bit. I haven't surfed for probably a month. This is a bit hard once you start playing and the body's too sore and. Yeah, I've just, like I said to you before, my feet at the moment, I just don't want to sort of put too much load through them and do anything to hurt them. Yeah, so, but I do. Yeah,
wait until you get Cowrie Hole on a good day. It's like nothing else on this earth. It's beautiful, beautiful.
Was it, you made the decision to sign with the Knights and one of the first players during that rebuilding period, but then also afterwards, you had players like Skidsy, Aiden Guerra and Pearce also signed during the same year. Was that a bit surreal to have, to almost take part of that Roosters side with you?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It made it a bit easier to sort of come here and fit in because, there's so many familiar faces here, but obviously those players are, they're class players, so it was really good for them to be able to come up here too and add a lot of experience and talent to the team, so...
It was something else being a fan.
It was unbelievable.
Going through the restructure was really hard. Obviously, losing a lot of talented players left the club and went on to other clubs and did well. The Sims brothers and Joseph Tarpany and stuff like that. We all lost it very close succession. So to have this new face at the club was something really special. And you seemed like you started it all, so it was fantastic.
Yeah, you were kind of the first one, and then
I'll claim that. I'll take that.
Have it. It's brilliant.
No, I think Gallen was the first.
Was he? Yeah, that's right, because he signed very early.
Yeah,
he was almost the end of 2016.
There's just been so many signings since then. You kind of forget who came in and when. It's just there was this endless train of all these great names coming to the club, and it was like nothing I've experienced before. It was brilliant. It was amazing.
There was so you had your first year with the Knights in 2018. You managed 16 games, but struggled a bit with injury. How was that for a challenge in your first year with a new club?
Yeah, to be honest, probably the toughest year I've ever had in football. I think I haven't really had a lot of injuries like that have put me out for long periods of time, and to have two in 1 year, it made it really tough. And especially, you come into a new club, you want to do really well, and not really to be given the opportunity sucked. But I sort of worked hard at it in the off season. Had to get surgery on my groin, and I feel really good at the moment. So hopefully I'm touch wood for an injury-free year and can really show everyone what we're capable of. So.
Well, it seemed like the success last year often came off the back of when both yourself and Pearce were on the park and playing together, and I think it was round 3 last year, that rainy game against the Roosters was when you did your shoulder. I think it was right, yeah. And then when you was coming back, Pearce
got injured.
So it was. I think in the end of the season, there wasn't a whole lot of games that you guys played together.
Yeah, I think it was like 5 games maybe.
Yeah, I had a look at the numbers. Together. It was very, very
5
few.
or 6, and then I think me and Kalen and Pearce played 3 games or 2 games together maybe. I don't think we played together again after round 2.
Yeah, well.
Or round 3, sorry, when we
round 3. Yeah.
But I was injured after like 20 minutes in that game. So
I didn't think it was possible to beat that round 1 team. Sorry, the round 1 game from last year against Manly was pretty spectacular. You being the first try scorer as well, I believe, that game.
No, that was Kalen.
That was Kalen.
Yeah, with his first touch in the Knights jersey.
You scored a try that game?
No, I didn't. I think I scored my first try for the Knights in round 2.
Oh, Maggie's not great at his research.
Yeah, apparently
he's working on it.
Round 2 against the Raiders. I must have got the maroon and green mixed up.
Yeah, it's an easy mix-up.
Yeah, they're so similar, those colours.
But the round 1 game against the Sharks on Friday night, I think when I saw some people talking about it online, I really thought. And everyone's like, I hope there's going to be another fantastic ending like it was against Manly. And I was thinking, well, I don't think my heart can take it. I think the anxiety was through the roof. And then it was very similar. What can you describe? Could you compare the two, or was the Friday night against the Sharks just something else because of they're a bit of a bogey side for the Knights?
I guess it was they're both really close games and great ways to start the season, but I think it was really big for us to beat the Sharks on the weekend, because I don't know how long it's been since the Knights have, but it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah, Brownie mentioned in the press conference, I think it's been the last 8 games the Sharks have won. Yeah,
and they've beat us by a fair few points every time too. So, but yeah, I thought it was a good start to the year. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but it was a good start. It was a good. I just think we played a good style of footy and really toughed it out, which, we did to start the year last year, and then we sort of went away from that. So I think if we keep playing that style of footy, especially because the start of the year, combinations and attack's not really there. It just more comes down to your defence and effort, and we did that on the weekend, and come away with a win. So
it was such a tough win. Like, that was the kind of win we're used to seeing the Sharks pull on other teams over the last few years, and towards the end I was kind of falling into a familiar trap of Knights fans of the last few years. You're just sitting there shaking and just worrying.
You want that siren to go off. You're waiting for it.
But it was toughed out. It was gritty. It was like what we've seen the Sharks over the last few years. It was incredible.
It was, and also your first game probably for the Knights at fullback. With I'm not sure if did you fill in there last year and have a bit of a swap,
I think Kalen got injured one game,
and then you swapped
10 minutes in, and I just went in there. But I hadn't actually played. I hadn't started there for the Knights, no. So
how was that being back at the back?
Yeah, it was good being back at the back.
That's where you played most of your footy growing up, was that right?
Yeah. So I played there till I was 17, and then when I was at the Roosters, and I moved into the halves, and then because we sort of Latrell was playing fullback, so in the ASG ball team. But it was good. I really love playing there, and it allows me to just support and run, which is my two biggest strengths. So, and it was good to sort of get a full pre-season there, and it's going to take a while. I'm not going to be perfect there straight away, but so I've got a lot of work to do, but I'm enjoying it.
That's it. I noticed you sniffing around David Clemmer for a few offloads. He's got an offload in his game now. Have you been working on that through the off season, just hanging around off those bigger forwards that we got now?
Yeah, definitely. I think and those combinations are going to come more as you play more games, because training's sort of a bit easier, like you can always throw an offload out or whatever, but it's a bit tougher when you come up against people who going to hold the ball a bit more, and we'll feel that. We'll get there. So,
well, Nagy, we used to kind of sit down when the training got tough in our footy days, didn't we?
We still do when things get tough.
We did.
If there's anything that gets tough,
we didn't go in for the hard training.
I know you wouldn't take it from looking at us, being the two athletes that sit in front of you, Connor. But we weren't very good. Liam, you were at the game. I actually watched it at the Commonwealth Hotel. They have a fantastic meat tray raffle there at 6 p.m. every Friday.
Every Friday, the best T-bone I ever had, I got out of one of the commie meat trays. It was brilliant.
I saw you down at the commie. I think it was around just after Christmas. Do you like going to the Commonwealth Hotel?
Yeah, I actually had a feed there last week, to be honest. Yeah. It's good food, man.
And it's a great place to watch the away games if you're down there. If you can't make it to the game, or if the guys are playing on the road, it's the best spot in town. Now, Liam, we did something different this week with our hats off. We gave our hats off to a player that we thought did particularly well, and we decided to ask more of the viewers.
We thought we'd turn to the fans for this one, because I think the fans are sick of hearing us talk, so they want to give a bit back. And our hats off for this week, it went to David Clemmer in his first ever game in Knights colours. He's got 58% of the vote on Facebook, 62% of the vote on Twitter. He was just unbelievable. It kind of... You always hoped he'd, bring what he brought to the game on that Friday night, and he just delivered from day one. Ran for 218 metres, 90 post-contact, 3 offloads and 33 tackles. He was immense, absolutely immense.
It was, something special to see. A lot of the, obviously, the new guys just sort of jumping out of the skin and playing really well. What was it like having players like, Eddie and Clem and whatnot come to the club in the off season? Did they change the dynamic of the group? Was it more of a... Obviously, they sort of came in one by one. Tim Glasby, obviously, another big name who played really well. Did they all bring something to the team? Yeah,
definitely. There's a lot of experience there. I think that's probably the biggest thing. It's just a bit more of experience and a bit more depth to the squad as well. So, they played great on the weekend. They've been great for us throughout the pre-season, and they're experienced. Like I said, they're experienced guys. So there's a lot of leadership there. Timmy Glasby's a great leader, and obviously Clem. You see the way he leads on the field. It's incredible.
Terrifying.
His motor is ridiculous. For a big front rower, he just goes and goes and goes. So I think he played like 65 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, he had a big spell. He was huge. Unbelievable. But also, honourable mention to Edric.
Yes.
He's it's quite impressive. I've never seen a local crowd take to anyone as quick as they took to Edric. There was an Edric chant probably 25 minutes in. Like, he's only played 25 minutes for the Knights, already chanting. He had a blinder, he pulled off a couple of try-saving tackles, scored that unbelievable intercept to race away and win the game. And I think, we've got our newest cult hero. I think the last one we had was Probably the Knight Rider,
Well, that's
Justin Ryder.
That's going back a fair
That's
bit.
going back away.
Probably Aquila, I'd say, for a while.
yeah,
Was
yeah.
that cult
Yeah.
hero. And, of course, the
Oh, the
Rostock.
Rostock.
And the
Yeah,
Rostock, yeah. So
that's
we've
the
got our
Rostock.
new cult hero. And yeah, he had a blinder as well. They ran for 153 metres. He only had to make 6 tackles, but yeah, all those tackles, they were, especially on Josh Dugan. I think Dugan's going to be having nightmares of Edric over the next few days because every time Dugan looked to get the ball, Edric was up and in on him.
It was
Forced a few errors.
I forgot how star-studded that Sharks side is. And then when they played the trial in Maitland, and we were there watching, and the team list there's so much rep football in them, and consistent rep performance. Like you got the Dugan, the Morris, Gallen. You know, it just keeps going for Feeder. Even the likes of, I always forget the other front row's name,
Matt Pryor.
Yeah. Even like he, got a run pretty recently. Like they're just. You have a look at it and you think, how can they all be in the one side together?
Salary cap cheating.
Is that daunting to play, Connor?
Yeah, I sort of was thinking the same thing, until it wasn't until we versed them in the trial, then when we looked at their team like during the week, and I was like, oh, how good's their side?
Yeah.
I forgot how good their side was because they lose like Luke Lewis and Wade Graham's been injured for a while too, so. But then they go and add Sean Johnson.
Already with Matt Moylan.
Matt Moylan as well.
Yeah, and then sort of like because they lost Val, but then Moylan goes back to fullback, and just means it's just it's still a star-studded side. So yeah, like I said before, it was a great way to start the year. So it's good.
How is it playing with Pearce at the back? Obviously, playing fullback, there's got to be very vocal and whatnot, and going from running alongside Pearce and obviously you can see during the game how involved he is in that sort of game management sort of a role. How was that shifting back to fullback and getting the voice going again?
Yeah, I think defensively I've probably got the biggest role to play, so organise the line. But that's part of it. I just you could take it for what it is and get it done. So it's good. In regards to sort of attacking wise, that's Piercy's. Piercy's the number one dude, so he sort of does most of that. But me and Kalen and Danny and Kurt are just sort of there to help and tell him what we see. But he makes the big calls, the big fella. So
but I'll tell you what, that defensive line was very well organised. I mean, the Sharks did not look to crack it once. That was brilliant. Yeah. It was because I think it was Phil Gardner a couple of weeks ago said goal for the Knights for this year want to be top 5 defensive team, and to start that way against the Sharks, keeping that line rock solid, that was a brilliant effort. Yeah.
We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back to cover everything else NRL. We'll be right back.
It's a very transient lifestyle, playing for Melbourne.
It must be. Welcome back to the second half of the Joust. Now, Liam, there was a few other results from Friday and Saturday.
There was, absolutely. Now, Friday we had our reserve grade team playing against Newtown. Got up 24-4. Harold Matts got up 32-0 over the Sharks. SG Ball were the only lower grade side to lose last weekend. They went down 24-22 also against the Sharks. Terrigal Cup side won 28-12 against the Sharks also.
So who we got this week for first grade?
For first grade, we've got the Panthers. Now that we'll be playing the Panthers at home. They're coming off a loss against Parramatta. But they've still got a very good squad. They've retained a really good side from last year. I don't think they've lost too many players. And coming off a loss against Parramatta, I think they'll be coming out pretty fired up. Connor, what are you expecting out of Penrith?
Yeah, I definitely think they'll be fired up. Obviously, they lost their first round. It was a pretty tight game, that one. Pretty tough. They both played pretty tough. But, I think the Panthers probably dropped a lot of balls. So I reckon they'll be trying to tighten that up this week. And, they're a great side. They've got so much depth. And they're missing Bill Kickow, which is probably a big loss for them at the moment.
Yeah.
But he's a great player. So
that's a huge out. He was one of my favourites to watch last season. Just on that left edge, he was running rampant. So I think the footy gods, we don't have him play against this week.
He's out. Was he shoulder or knee? Or
I think it was a knee.
Knee?
ACL perhaps?
One of the two.
One of the two.
One of the big ones.
Yeah.
The shoulder or the knee.
Yeah.
When you come up against the Panthers, obviously playing at home, a lot of expectation coming off the big win against the Sharks. Who's the danger man for the Penrith team, do you think, when you have a look at their side?
Probably Jimmy Maloney, I think. When he's on, he's up there as one of the best players in the world, and you can't really den him. His confidence, you can't break him. So, yeah, he's good. But they've got a great side. They've got heaps of rep players, and it's going to be a tough game. So, but we're playing at home again, so hopefully get a good crowd out there and a bit of home support will be good.
That's it. And I think it was last year, one of the later games in the season beat the Panthers when they were in the race for the top 4. So we've got a bit of form going up against the Panthers, which is nice. I always like to look at a bit of form.
Yeah. Well, obviously that was a great win last year. With one where I think the team had been pretty ravaged with injury by this point in the back end of the season. I think yourself and Pearce were sort of coming back at opposite times, and Ponga with a hamstring, and then of course Slade with his knee. And then that was a win when the Panthers were doing really well that I don't think many people expected, but out there as well. So it was a fantastic win. Hopefully we can do it all again. How is Slade doing with the knee, Rico?
Yeah, he's going good. He he works so hard. He's such a dedicated bloke, and I think he's hoping for a return. I'm not sure exactly, but later on in the year. So if anyone can come back from that, he can. He's probably the most passionate and dedicated dude I've seen. So.
And we're not looking too bad for injuries as well. Obviously, Daniel Safidi picked up an MCL strain, I think, and a slight injury to his foot. But I think they're looking about round 4 or 5 to have him back. But the beauty of having depth now at the club is we just Herman Essa.
Yeah.
A test player just slides straight back into the 17. So I thought he was a bit hard done by to be left out at the start of the year.
Yeah.
Given his form last year, he was one of the form forwards at the club, definitely. So I think Herman's going to have a big one. He's got a lot to prove, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of supporters were disappointed not to see Herman Essa, the man so nice, they named him Herman. But obviously with the side, there's so much talent, especially now in the forwards with the likes of Glasby and Clemmer, and I think, they showed how talented and important they are to that side. So, but again, first round, I think a lot of people thought Herman Essa not in the side. Well, that's it. Maybe you'll have a stint in Reggie's, but now it's he's back in round 2, and I think last year what we saw with how many injuries we had. That it was such it was so good now, as you said, to have depth. Is that reassuring to know that if you do have forwards or backs drop out, or even the likes of Mason Lino and in the side now, people with first grade experience to be able to slot back in and without sort of blooding new people all the time?
Yeah, definitely it helps. That's why they have squads of 25, 30 people, and we're lucky now we've got some great depth there, and like you said, Herman just slots straight in, and he's such a great player himself. So it was obviously tough for him to miss out in the first one, but he took it well, and he has a great attitude. So yeah, that's footy though.
You're doing it much yourself, in that sort of you're in reserve grade, in first grade 1 week. Bench starting, you sort of lived it all at the Roosters.
Yeah.
How did that affect you sort of in your career? Like, was it hard to sort of, when you're playing first grade 1 week and then dropping back to Reggie's, or did you know eventually you'd get to a regular first grade spot?
Oh, I mean, it's tough, but I kind of enjoyed it. It was a different challenge for me, I was only young, just sort of coming into just playing first grade, and I was really grateful to be playing first grade. But when I sort of went back there, I was like, I'm just going to try and be, the best I can be, and not really take it. Enjoy it, not get shitty about it or anything like that. So, yeah, it was good. It was different.
Is there anyone currently in the Knights squad that you're looking at, that the younger fella that might not have made first grade yet, you think that he's a superstar in waiting?
I think Bo Firma, yeah. He's training really good through the pre-season, and he's a really talented back rower. He's big and mobile. He's really fast. Like, he's got exceptional speed. So he's someone who I reckon, if he got a shot, could definitely break onto the scene. But I'm trying to think. Yeah, obviously, Phoenix trade well. Tex is a talented player as well, Tex Hoy.
Yeah, I like the look of those two in the trial game. Obviously, the game didn't go the way that we wanted, but yeah, those two particularly, I thought they looked pretty slick. They've got some big futures ahead of them, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely. They're two good kids. So, Stas Sanchez as well. He's a freak. So,
what's his first name?
Stafford.
Stafford Tower. He scored the only try in the trial match.
Stafford.
With some very good footwork.
Bo, Phoenix. There's also these names, I don't know.
Are we getting old now?
I think so.
I think we're getting old.
No one's got names like James anymore,
Where's all the Bruces?
I know. Yeah, they've gone. Connor, do you have the time?
Yeah, it's time for the news.
Yeah. the news this week?
Well, not much. It's not off season anymore, so there's not really any news. It's really slowed down. But the one thing I did see in the news that I do want to talk about, because I find it very interesting every time it's brought up, Todd Greenberg, avid listener of the show, he obviously wanted our opinion on it. He's been talking about expansion again. Now, it seems with the ARL Commission going the way they're going now, they really want to expand the NRL, whether that be through relocation or, you know, a new franchise. And I just thought we might get a nice little, I want to say round table conversation, but a rectangle table conversation.
Well, they're looking west. Am I not right with that? They're looking to Perth. They're looking. I think they're playing the first Origin game there this year.
Yeah, playing the first Origin game in Perth.
Is that? What do you think, Connor, about taking the Origin to somewhere else? Do you think they should keep it sort of where most of the fans are, or do you think having these sort of? Would you prefer maybe a different game get moved over there?
I don't know. I think it sort of evens out the home field and away advantage, you know, because then you get one home game, one away game, and then there's sort of one somewhere else. But I think it's good for the game to be playing in different places. I'm not sure where are they playing. The Origin? Is it Perth? Perth, yeah. Is that? I think it's a pretty cool joint over there, and the stadium's sick. Yeah, I heard the stadium's unreal. So, you know, I think you can take Origin anywhere, and it's going to sell out stadiums, and it's probably going to be good for the game because it's probably the pinnacle of the game, and for new fans it's probably the best thing for them to go and watch and then really get hooked on rugby league. So,
well, I think they even played a sellout in California. 1986. They took the fourth Origin game. They took it to California. Peter Sterling was the face of it. Yes, it was obviously didn't count towards the series.
Okay,
but,
right.
They took it to California and they sold out a stadium in California.
Yeah, right.
Like State of Origin, I believe.
Well, hopefully they don't do that again.
No,
that's expanding too much.
It's a bit too much. Yeah, it's a bit too much. But I like the idea of Perth. I think it showed with the Perth Reds, the Western Reds in 95 through 97. Yeah. They actually were getting really good crowds and they were doing all right. Mark Guy was kind of the face of the club, and it showed there's plenty of appetite for rugby league in Perth. And I think with the demise of the Western Force, they've been cut out now. There's a lot of footy fans over there who just want a bit of footy, and at the moment they've only got AFL, and I don't think they really, you know, they want something better.
It's
got to want something better.
Have you ever been to Perth?
No,
neither have I.
It's very far away. That's the other thing though. Like as a player, that's a long way to travel.
I think it's a big trip, eh?
Yeah, that'd be a huge trip.
I know they do it in the SG Ball because they used to when I was in there, but I never did that trip. We never got them in the draw or anything like that. So
it just seems a long way away.
With Origin being Origin 1, 2 and 3, do you think there should be a standalone block in the middle of the season where everything has a break and maybe even do a 2 week gap, or do you like that it's sort of integrated into the season? Do you think it may be a bit too much of a disturbance for the regular season?
Oh, I just think it sort of makes it hard for you when you're missing your best players, you know? Yeah. And obviously there's a lot of good players that don't make State of Origin, so if you're losing your best players, and it sort of leaves you a bit of disadvantage. But yeah, are they talking about doing the standalone?
Well, there's always been talks about it, but it's never been, this is looking like happening. It's always just been bubbling away in the background, and yeah, it's a weird one. It's always kind of there to be talked about, but no one's officially talking about it. I don't know, it's a strange one, the whole standalone rep period.
Yeah. No,
but I personally think it'd be a good thing. If I can have 2 weeks where I'd take it off work. If there's a 2 week Origin period, I'm taking that whole 2 weeks off work and I'm not going to bed the whole time. I think it'd be a great idea.
It's a wonderful time.
It's a wonderful time of year.
Now, Liam.
Yes.
Speaking of expansion, did you know Channel 9's doing a bit of their own expansion?
Really?
Yeah, they're bringing back Daryl Summers.
They're bringing back Daryl.
Daryl's returning to 9. Now, this might interest you.
They never should have got rid of Daryl.
Connor as well, because Daryl Summers is coming back singing everyone's favourite Christmas songs in a very special Thursday night, 9:30. You wouldn't believe what they called it.
What are they going to call it?
Daryl's Carols.
Daryl's Carols, coming to you this summer on Channel 9.
Yeah,
Daryl's Carols.
It's
all right.
expanding everywhere.
The man's ageless.
It's time for Six the Best.
You're simply the best.
Connor's giving me a look of why did I come on the show?
This is one of our better weeks too.
Six of the best this week is 6 Newcastle Knights that debuted for other clubs, which some of them were quite surprising when we looked at them.
Yeah. This was a fun one to go through because you got to go through like these are, to us, they're club legends and blokes we really looked up to. So I was looking forward to this one because we could just have a bit of a chat about some good old players.
Who's your number one, Liam?
My number one that I've got, and this was one that kind of came to me in a flash of inspiration while I was trying to go to sleep the other night.
Yeah.
You guys remember Brian Carney?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the winger.
The Irish winger. Yeah, I thought he played at the Knights for 3 or 4 years, but he only had 1 season at the Knights.
Yeah.
Scored 16 tries. I remember he was an excitement machine. He was pretty handy in the media too. I remember him and Matty Johns did a lot of media work, and he only played the 1 season in 2006. He come over from the Wigan Warriors, and then he signed for the Gold Coast Titans, retired from football, and then signed for Warrington, and then later went on to play rugby union for Munster. So he lied about retiring.
Yeah, that's true, because he went back and played.
Something we Irish should do. I'm going to retire, but not now.
Is that so he could go home? Like, did he retire and then?
I think
I'm going to play
he
again.
retired and then bug it off home. Started up again.
My one is Ben Kennedy, which I think everyone just remembers him playing so well at the Knights, but he was actually started with the Canberra Raiders.
He did. He had a few years at the Raiders.
Yeah, but then it was in rugby union before that at some level as well.
I think he was Brumbies junior, but he played 86 games for the Knights. He was in that 2001 Premiership, which was great game. Do you remember where you were for the 2001 Premiership? You would have been quite young.
I was there actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was the night I started going for the Knights.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I sort of went down with my dad and my nan and pop and all my uncles, and they were all para fans. And then on the train, I was like, no, I'm going to go for the Knights, like to despise them. And then we ended up winning. So I was like, yeah, how good's this?
Brilliant.
That would have been a fun trip home as well. Just you celebrating and then upsetting the whole
They were
family.
very upset.
I imagine the Central to Newcastle after the grand final, that would have had some types on there. That's a troublesome train trip at the best of times.
Oh, the Criminals Airway, the train, yeah.
Convicts Airline.
Liam, you're number 3?
I've got Mark Glanville. Now, he was a foundation player for the club, I'm pretty sure. Mark Glanville came in 1988. He actually debuted at St George. He played 188 games for the Knights. I always just assumed he was just a Knights player only, but won the 97 Premiership and currently is one of the talking heads on Triple M's coverage of the Newcastle Rugby League. Yeah,
with the call with Blanchy and Michael Hagan there. It's,
good friend of the show, Nick Blanche, and Michael Hagan.
For me, it's Adam McDougall, and I think everyone was Mad Dog is just someone that you think Knights. He went, played fantastic with the Knights, left, played South, and I think he came back to the Knights.
Well, he wasn't so fantastic at South.
Well, he just kept getting concussed. He wouldn't have lasted the concussion rules now, which we didn't actually see much of that last year. The concussion. Did it seem like 2017 it was all concussions, and last year it wasn't so much? Or?
Yeah, it seemed a bit less. I don't know. Because of my string of concussions, I can't remember much of it. Yeah.
Is that something that bothers you, like, or worries you when you go out to a game, Connor? Do you think if you cop a knock and you think, oh, hang on, I'm not sure which way this is going to go? Am I going to, with those concussions, when you get a bit of a flash and you think, am I still okay? And you never want to come off, obviously. That's not something that people want to do. But is it? Have you had a concussion since the new rule?
I've had to come off, but I've never actually. I've been able to go on. I've passed the test every time. I think I might have done it like 3 times maybe. But
can you walk us through the test? Is it like what day is it? How many fingers am I holding up, or is it a little bit more in depth?
Yeah, it's a bit like that, and then there's like some balance, like one foot after the other, like with your eyes closed. It's pretty tough too.
Really?
Yeah, with your eyes closed and that.
And then, isn't it elbow, apple, carpet, bubble? There's 5 words you got to remember.
Really?
Yeah, I've done the concussion test a number of times, but they don't change the words. So
I'm not sure.
Elbow, apple, carpet, bubble, and something else. But my weirdest one, I got knocked out once playing at Lake Macquarie, and I got up and I looked around and everything had gone green. Like, we were wearing blue jersey. I looked down at my jersey and it had gone green.
Colourblind.
Yeah, it knocked me into colourblindness. It was a really strange one. That
Connor, do you have any Knights greats that you remember that played for other clubs initially?
No, I can't remember. Hey, I only really was a Knights fan, so wasn't worried about who they were playing before that.
We're a bit the same.
Yeah.
We'll finish off. I know we said 6, but we'll just do. I've
got 2 more. Tony Butterfield, Matt Parsons.
Tony Butterfield. Yeah.
He obviously debuted with Penrith and then was one of the foundation players with the Knights in '88. Yeah, and Parsons, of course, was Souths.
He was at Souths to start with. Yeah, absolutely. And he played in the 01 Premiership as well. I always liked Matty Parsons. He was never quick. No. He wasn't a quick prop, but he just made yards. Kind of Clemmer reminds me of him, just big loping.
Just huge people that are way too big. They should have never, there shouldn't be people made that large. We better wrap it up. Connor, thank you so much for joining us this week. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. If you like the Joust guys, like us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those pipes.
All the social pipes.
Make sure you head down on Saturday night to catch the Knights v Penrith at McDonald Jones Stadium. But if you can't get there, make sure to head down to the Commonwealth Hotel and catch it there. The best venue in town.
Great food.
Might still
Great
be there
food.
for the meat raffle.
Yeah, the meat raffle, though, they do it early if the Knights are playing early. So, but yeah, no, it's going to be fantastic. Thanks again, Connor. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me, boys.